Welcome to Spect. Today we'll be looking at spice on bases. Now, for those of you that have seen the last video, you saw the end result of this, but you didn't see the process of making it. For those of you today, you can always go back and look at that last video and then come back to this one. It won't take that long. Now, I've put together a variety of different base types, different sizes, and also going to be different textures. So what I'm doing here is just basically showing you what I have, which is cinnamon. I have mixed herbs. They kind of got like an earthy texture. And then we have some parsley. That's a brighter green color. We're going to make sure that we have some sand available. We've got some white glue. You can pick that up from anywhere. As I mentioned earlier, sand. Any play sand would do. You could buy a whole bag for like £3. So you're still saving, which was a key of what we were talking about before. Another thing that we're going to look at is getting our hands on some GW flock, or Games Workshop flocking. I use this, but only just a small amount on each base, so this has lasted me years. It just helps to blend the textures and colours, and when you have a closer look at it, you can see that it's made up of like browns, reds, and a variety of greens. It kind of reminds me of like the lint that you get from your dryer. So if we have a look here at the mixed herbs, you can see it's kind of like dried leaves texture. It smells good too. Smell. Moving on to parsley. The parsley is like a richer green, so more like summertime, spring. And if you have a look at these when it finally zooms in, there we go. These now look like fresh leaves that are just fallen onto the ground. So they haven't yet been crumpled. They're fresh and they've got that nice green texture. Now if you combine the two together, you make a third mixture. And that third mixture is, I would say, kind of at the high part of summer where the heat is really strong and where the grass starts to dry out a bit, but there's still those clumps of green in between and it will look good together. So taking the bases, you see you've got a few here. I'm going to do different types. Just start with a white glue and put that onto the base. You know, just a fair size, about a quarter of the base should be suitable. Little tip to not to get your hands dirty. Just use the other base. Two birds, one stone, yay! We're going to do the same for the other bases. Same thing again, just a little dollop of white glue. And just rub them together till the glue is spread. If it gets on the edges, don't worry about it too much. You know, you could tidy that up later. But for now, that's okay. Okay. I'm going to start with the sand. And the sand is a very good base because it helps to give like a texture. I know a lot of people like to cover the whole base with sand. But I like to use a small amount if I'm going to use any of the other herbs, just to kind of give it that foresty colour, just to give it a little something underneath. And it works really well with the glue. You see there? And once it focuses, you can see the detail will still be there when you come to, if you wanted to dry brush it or add any additional details. Now, don't let your kids near the sand because it will be everywhere. When I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. This is your sand, your special sand for modelling. This base, I'm going to add more sand. Give it a more fuller cover. Still leave some space there for the glue, for the other seasonings. That one I'm just going to probably add cinnamon to give it like a desert look. Moving on to cinnamon. It's very straightforward. Make sure you use the side that has the little perforations, because if you use the other side, it would just all dump out onto the base. And it might look cool for a few minutes, but hey. Another thing you should do is just check for allergies, just in case some of these contain allergies. You don't want to take this to a table, start messing around and people sneezing all over your beautiful models. Now, as you can see, once you add this cinnamon, it brings up a bit more detail and a bit of contrast. So even right now, you could probably use the bases as they stand. but we're just going to take it a little bit further. See there? It's like little mini stones. Kind of nice. Right, this base is going to be a bit more fuller. There we go. Nice little patch in the center. And what I'm going to probably do with that one is mimic dry ground, like a patch of ground, you know, like when it's been worn away for lots of traveling. Let's give it that contrast. And last space I'll leave blank for now, because I want to have a slight variety on each. Take the mixed herbs, the one that smells good. I'm just going to sprinkle that on, and as I sprinkle, I also crush it just to break them down a little bit smaller. You could always use a grinder to crush this further, but I don't see any point here. Just making this very simple but detailed bases. Just give it a little tap, any extras come straight off. I always recommend doing this over the same container so that any extras could go back in, and that's not a problem. But look at that. See, it's like little leaves. And anywhere that's missing, just touch it in. And just let it sit for a bit. Okay? There's no rush. Take your time. And these will always come out good. I believe in you. Okay. That's me talking to myself. Continue with the base. There. Just add it in. This one has more variety, so it's more to one side. So you might find it at the edge of a path. You know, just use a bit of imagination. If you need to use reference, you can go online, and there's plenty of references that you can use. But really, the more random, the better. You can start to see I use less on that previous base, just a little bit. And this one, as you'll see, I decide that, you know, could have a bit more. I'm going to make that base very full. And wherever it falls is normally right, so just leave it there for now. We've got the parsley, and now we're just sprinkling that on top. And where there's gaps in the previous other spices which I had, and herbs, that will fall right in the middle, and it will stick. The white glue holds it very well. You could even see that I turned it upside down right away, and it still held. Okay. Oops. Continuing, same thing, same process. This one's got a bit more. So we've got one little dry patch in the middle of a lovely green. You can always combine them. There's no issue about combining them, as you can see there. Just lay that back over the top. And look at that. Not only does it look and smell tasty, it actually looks pretty good for your models too. Oh, by the way, don't eat this stuff. I know they look like mini pizzas, but that's not the point. Resist the urge. Okay. Just fill in the last bits here. Just a little touch again. And right there, it looks like one or two stray weeds in the middle of a side brush. Maybe like near a beach or transition into desert. Either one of those things. See, just a small amount. If you do like miss the edges or there's not enough glue, you can always go back at any point and put more glue on. I recommend doing this once the model's had just a little bit of time to dry, so that glue's just dried up. Otherwise, as you put it down, the original base layers you've put down will come back up. And again, just re-adding some more of that parsley there, as you can see. Just make sure you coat the whole thing. As I said, this base is going to be a very full base, almost like a forest floor, which is very thick, unkempt, or, you know, a garden that hasn't seen a lawnmower for a while. That's what I'm going for here. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, now to bring all of them together to help the blending, I'm going to use this Games Workshop flocking. Now you only need to use a tiny bit of this, otherwise it just doesn't look right. But you can use it to blend the two colours. And if we have a closer look, you'll see like it's like fine layer of grass in between there. No, I suppose like if a bird was going to make a nest, those are kind of things that you use. Not necessarily twigs or sticks, just more like the fine basket weaving birds. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to do the same for all of the bases. This one again, I want to cover with more, and then even though it seems like a lot, I put a bit too much on by accident, but actually upon reflection, having a closer look, and it focuses, focus, there we go. You can see right there, well overgrown, and that would be a nice looking base for your model. Now some of these models do have slots in. What I suggest is you put the model in, you cover the whole base in glue and start the process. Try and make sure that you don't have any glue on the model itself. Okay, unless you want to put it into a stealth mode, or you know, you have like scouts or something and you want them to be covered in camouflage. Just looking at this base, you can see there's a lot less. But again, that effect, making it look like just the starts of grass or the wisps of grass, makes it come together quite nicely. And for the final base, which I have here at the moment, I'm going to do the same thing. Just a little, don't need much. I'm not too sure if it's like extra contrast or what have you, but it blends really well. But as you can see, I use so little that this will last a long time. This is about £7. It might change prices, I don't know, but you get the idea. From the bases, regardless of the size, you can have like variations. So I suppose here you can say this one's the heavy forest base, that one may be going through a park, this one on the beach, and the last one in the desert or near desert. There you go. You can have a closer look. So you still have enough space to place your models on there, and if you use a little bit of super glue, it will hold. Now if they do start to peel at the edges, you can put a little bit of super glue underneath to keep the risen glue that comes up sometimes onto the base. And a good way of getting around that is just adding a bit of water to the base, to the PVA. But we went in neat with the glue, don't worry about that. So there we go. Got a bit more glue here, because I'm going to be using the glue to bond the whole thing a little bit more thicker, because I'll just be using the sand and the seasoning, but I want more of a desert effect here. The other base, even though I said it was desert, it's more like the brush, like dry brush, just on the edges. This is the kind of deep desert where a little bit of a riverbed used to be, where you get that slightly discolored sand. There are special paints out there called technical paints, which can do this for you automatically, but you have to leave them to dry and they crack, and they're really good. I think they're like a combination of emulsion and oils or something, I don't know, but it's magic. And Games Workshop do sell them. I'm not getting sponsored, by the way, but just to point out. But back to that saving factor, I mean, this is food in your cupboard. This is free. Okay, no one's going to miss this amount of seasoning. Now we have a closer look here as it focuses. Come on, focus. There we go. You can see the textures there. There's a variation. It's not just all one color. And you can see like the grain just pulls through, and they look like little pebbles. So as you can see there's all the bases quite nicely together. And they're full. They haven't peeled, and I've left them to dry. And as I would say to you, I recommend doing this over a sheet of paper so that any extra material that you have, you could just put back into one container, and that's your mixed container. Now, here's some pictures of the previous Marine that we painted together in the previous video, just to show you the base it's on, more so than anything else. You can see the base is held there. Good thing about using this technique is that you could use it for any of your models or for your scenery display, and it works the same way. And even with bases that look different, it still fits in. You can find me on Instagram. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll make sure I get back to you. As always, this is Spect. PC out.